based homeopathy mastery. Dear speakers, beloved members of the Global GSK family, brothers and sisters joining us from across the world through YouTube, and all sincere seekers of truth, a very warm and heartfelt welcome to all of you. I begin this moment in deep gratitude to God. Whatever Global GSK has become over these last 9 years is the achievement purely by God's grace, His guidance, His protection, and His invisible hand working through many people, many hearts, and many sincere efforts across the world. I humbly bow in gratitude and say, Praise be to God. Thank you, God. I also remember with reverence and gratitude Dr. J. Hammer, through whom this extraordinary biological wisdom was revealed to humanity. I consider him not merely a medical discoverer, but a prophet of biological truth who helped us understand how God has designed life, health, disease, and healing. I also express my gratitude to Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, whose original spirit of medicine was deeply biological and humane, and to all my mentors, guides, and teachers who helped shape my understanding over the years. I thank from my heart our mentors of Global GSK, the members of the teaching faculties, the committed members of Global GSK, our supporters and well-wishers, and all brothers and sisters across the world who are learning, living, and teaching GSK with sincerity. Friends, let us be very honest. Politicians do not understand the true phenomena of health, disease, and cure. The media does not understand it. Conventional medical systems do not understand it. Alternative systems, including homeopathy, in its present form, largely do not understand it either. Medical systems, conventional and alternative alike, have failed to see life as a meaningful biological process designed by God. Poor and medically illiterate people are repeatedly made to believe that symptoms must always be suppressed. This fear-based misunderstanding has allowed the pharmaceutical industry to build a massive business by exploiting ignorance, insecurity, and helplessness. GSK stands completely apart from this. GSK is not suppression. GSK is not pharma. GSK is not fear-based medicine. GSK is living biologically in harmony with the laws of nature and God's design. That is why we have chosen the theme of today's flagship event as Living GSK. If you observe nature, the truth becomes self-evident. Birds in the sky, animals on land, and fish in oceans and rivers have fully aligned with the biological rhythms. Only human beings have been taught to fear their own biology. GSK invites humanity to return to a biological way of life, just as God intended, not fighting the body, but understanding it, not suppressing symptoms, but decoding their meaning. Global GSK was inaugurated on the 26th of January 2017 during the lifetime of Dr. J. Hammer himself, in the presence of a small group of my friends and well-wishers. Interestingly, Dr. Hammer left this world on July 2nd, 2017, the very same date on which Dr. Samuel Hahnemann also departed. To me, this synchronicity carries a deeper meaning. What began on that historical 26th of January gradually evolved from GNM India to Global GNM and later to Global GSK, reflecting the living and expanding nature of this knowledge. Ever since our first anniversary, we have been celebrating January 26th every year, and today marks the 9th anniversary of Global GSK, which we are celebrating throughout the entire month of January 2026. We also celebrate Dr. Hammer's birthday on May 17th, dedicating the entire month of May as World GSK Month, sharing knowledge freely through public platforms. We conduct weekly webinars, structured teaching programs, and international educational activities. Our website, globalgnm.com, today reaches seekers from nearly 60 countries. Today's program is our flagship event of this anniversary, a 2-hour live global webinar titled Living GSK, featuring internationally acclaimed speakers sharing how GSK is lived in parenting, caregiving, relationships, and daily life. Through this event, we wish to bring global attention to these truths that Dr. Hammer's discoveries are revolutionary, that the 5 biological laws of nature explain health and disease with unmatched clarity, that the synchronicity of psyche, brain, and body is the foundation of life, and that this knowledge can free humanity from the fear of disease. GHK does not teach us how to manage disease, GHK teaches us how to live. Friends, today's program has been lovingly designed and coordinated by someone very close to this journey, Andy Loki from USA, my colleague, co-learner, and classmate during the International Conference of Caroline Marcolin, the direct disciple of Dr. Hammer. He is one of our 11 mentors of Global GHK and the chairperson of this Living GHK event. Andy and I share common journey of learning and living GHK. Our collaboration is rooted in a single intention to preserve and share authentic GHK in its pure biological form beyond organizational boundaries. I now have great joy and confidence in inviting Andy Loki to take over as the Master of Ceremonies to guide us through this meaningful global celebration. Andy, I wish you all success. Welcome, and over to you, Andy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Varghese. It is indeed an honor to be here and to be present and witnessing this amazing, what I think is a pretty amazing presentation that we'll be giving today. So for many people, Germanische Heilkunde, or Germanic New Medicine, is understood primarily as something related to health, something we turn to when symptoms appear or a diagnosis is given. But that understanding is incomplete. GHK is not simply something that we use when something appears to go wrong in the body. It's a biological way of orienting to life itself. The 5 biological laws Dr. Hammer discovered describe how human beings experience conflict, threat, connection, loss, safety, and meaning, not only in our tissues and our organs, but in our relationships, our work, our parenting, our decisions, and how we move through the world. When we truly live with GHK, it changes how we interpret situations, how we respond under pressure, how we relate to others, how we make decisions. It doesn't remove conflict from life. It changes how we meet conflict as well. Today's gathering is not a technical training. It's not a collection of case studies. It's an embodied conversation. Over the next 2 hours, you'll hear short-lived reflections from practitioners, educators, and community members from around the world. Each speaker will share how GHK has shaped their perception, their choices, and their responses in real-life situations, often far beyond health all by itself. These aren't stories about getting it right. They are stories about thinking biologically and responding with awareness rather than fear. A few important things about our flow is that we have 19 speakers, each with a brief share. And they're brief because we want to hear from many voices. There are no slides. There's no technical teaching here. And we will have a small amount of time at the end for questions from you, from our audience. Our Q&A will be at the end. So I invite you to listen to our speakers today, not for answers per se, but for orientation, for moments when something clicks internally for you and you recognize a different way of meeting life, if you will. And so we are ready to begin. And again, this is GHK is not a belief system. It's not a philosophy layered on top of biology. It's an invitation to understand life through biology itself. So thank you for being part of this global community and for helping to bring this work into the world, not just as knowledge, but as a way of living. So let's begin. Our first topic is about parenting. We will have 4 speakers. Our very first speaker is Janine Tremolay, and Janine will be talking about everyday mothering with GHK. So Janine, welcome.
Thank you, Andy. So I grew up in Southern Africa, where life unfolded mostly outdoors, surrounded by wild beauty, sunlight, and freedom. I traveled many third world countries and noticed that the happiest people lived surrounded by nature. I wanted the same for my children. We left the city to create life on a farm so my children could grow up barefoot in the mud and dirt, wild and happy. They learned through real farm life, harvesting food, caring for animals, getting their hands in the soil, climbing the tallest trees and boulders, enjoying family meals around the table. We all worked and played together. That's why I chose homeschooling, not because I was trying to keep them away from life, but because I want them to experience it fully. We joined homeschooling community groups and hosted beautiful gatherings with other moms and children, where we shared learning, camping, survival activities, play, and connection. Most of them took place on the farm. My eldest children have grown and wanted to explore the city life, so after 15 years of farming and wanting to keep the family together, we have now moved to Miami. My younger ones still homeschool, using Waldorf-inspired online program for 2 hours a day, 4 days a week. My daughter loves creative arts, dancing, reading, and paddleboarding. My son loves math, science, rowing, wakeboarding. He builds bicycles and motorbikes as a hobby. The boys wrestle with friends on the trampoline. They race their bikes, they go fishing and jump off bridges in the bay to show off their strength. The way we learn is led by curiosity, experience, and trust, not by forcing them into a structure that doesn't match their natural rhythm. We aren't ruled by strict schedules, and one of my favorite parts is that we grow and learn together. No matter what the day looks like, through reading books, going to the beach, climbing trees in the mangroves, playing backgammon at night, and field trips. This has been especially important with my daughter. I'm not pushing her into tough masculine sports or constant competition in order for her to be strong and independent. We look for ways to support her natural feminine rhythm. And when my children were young and hurt themselves, we didn't overreact because we didn't want them to see fear. Staying calm always takes the fear away. My children carry this quiet confidence because we do not hover or control their every move. Mother Nature's intelligence. Children learn through experiences, not sitting behind a desk all day. Their microbiome develops through contact, not avoidance, and the outdoors is their sanctuary. We don't go to doctors or dentist offices. They've never been vaccinated. Those environments alone can create more conflict than reassurance. Even when people mean well, fear can imprint on our children. It can become a trap. If my son has a blocked ear, he doesn't panic. He grabs the ear candles and we help to clear the wax. And then we sit together and gently explore what's going on. Something he didn't want to hear or something he wanted to hear and didn't. And when my daughter catches a cold, she often recognizes it herself. Something bothered her or annoyed her, and now she's in resolution. Some days we cook together and everyday experience family meals without screens and phones. We eat organic, nourishing foods, and when we go to the restaurant or the children are out with friends, we don't restrict their foods because this fear creates bigger problems. If my son doesn't want a particular food, I don't force him because this negative association creates aversions and reactions that form over time. It's important to guide families to understand biology and to live in harmony with nature and relationships without fear. Thank you.
Wonderful, Janine. It sounds like a really wonderful way to bring up children. And so we'll now hear from, again, we have 4 speakers total on the parenting topic. And next will be Dr. Archana. And she will be speaking about GHK in kids for a better future and inculcating the young minds with GHK. So welcome, Dr. Archana. Please take it away.
Thank you, ma'am. Hello, friends. Today, I'm not going to talk anything on core GHK topics. Instead, today I will be sharing my experience as a mother of 2 children. We will see how GHK can be introduced to the kids for a better future. Way back in 2017, when I was first introduced to GHK, I went to Kannur to attend Dr. C.J. Varghese sir's seminar with my husband and my daughter. After the scientific session, I introduced my family to Dr. C.J. Varghese sir, and my daughter was coughing badly. She was 6 years old then. Dr. C.J. Varghese sir said, though GHK is for kids above 18 years of age, we can educate them as early as 7 years of age. This was a light bulb moment for me. So also sir was talking about stop the first cough and stop the first itch during the scientific session. My daughter is an intelligent girl, so I try to tell her that if she consciously could stop her first cough, she can completely get out of it. And I inquired her about her conflict also. I don't remember the conflict as of now. Then I said to her, I want you to be happy and come out of the conflict. What do you want to be happy? Being a small little girl, she asked for an ice cream. But I could not find a good ice cream parlor in Kannur. So I found a roadside popsicle seller and I got a popsicle and gave her reluctantly because I was also not very sure what is going to happen because giving ice cream is totally against for cold and cough and other things usually. So I was giving her reluctantly. From there, we went to Kannur beach. We played together. And for my surprise, after coming back, there was no cough at all, not even a single bout. It was an eye-opener moment for me, and I started communicating the conflicts and the practical ways to resolve or downgrade the conflicts to every kid stepping into my clinic. So even before the age of 18 years, if the child is intelligent and if their understanding is good, we can introduce GHK and educate them in simple ways. I had a very bad fungal affection of my right little toe last week. I showed it to my kids in its worst state. And this week beginning, it reduced in size without any medical intervention. Being a doctor, I could have taken any medicine, but I did not use any medicine or any external application. I showed them how it reduced automatically. This way, we can educate our children about the biological wisdom of our body to heal itself. We need to educate the future generation that not every symptom or not every disease require a remedy or a drug. So even while conversing at home, I asked my kids, what was the conflict happened recently? Instead of asking what food you had or whether you got exposed to rain or sun or attributing to anything physical or material. So by doing this regularly, they will learn to find the conflict instead of looking for cause outside. This helps them to take the responsibility of their own health in their hand instead of putting the blame on the weather, bacteria, or even allergens. In fact, in many situations, my elder one refuses to take even homeopathic medicines, which are very safe and natural. So she says, now we know the conflict, so let's wait for the symptoms to go automatically. So added advantage is that even if we tend to deviate due to our upbringing or our old pattern of thinking and belief system, they will bring us back on the track and keep us navigated rightly. So it is very important to educate the younger generation about GHK. Sometimes my elder one says, even if I am not becoming a doctor in future, I will surely learn GHK. This gives a tremendous satisfaction as I have satisfactorily done the duty of a mother and giving the right thought process about health as well as the so-called diseases. This generation is so fast, they look for instant answers. It is the need of the hour to educate them to trust the process and wait patiently with the right conviction about the disease and health. So healing is to wait patiently till the healing gets completed. Learning GHK is the first step and living GHK is everything. So living GHK or living biologically means understanding why certain things are designed by nature in a specific way and living along the same lines without deviating from the nature's way. So though the journey of GHK started in 2017, the learning is ever increasing and there is always something new to understand, and the knowledge and conviction is growing deeper every day. Happy 9th anniversary to Global GHK Foundation. Thank you one and all for your patient listening.
Oh, wonderful. Such wisdom in that when you just listened to your own instincts and gave her a popsicle. And look at the miracle that occurred at that point. So if we could all start to really dig into those resources that we do have inside us, especially knowing Ganesha Kunde, then we can raise our children so differently. The next speaker is Julie Mintha, who is talking about parenting through biological awareness, recognizing symptoms as signals and guiding her children and herself back to safety. Julie, welcome.
Thank you. When we view teenagers through the lens of Germanic healing knowledge, especially those expressing bioaggressive behavior, the entire narrative shifts. What may appear as rebellion, recklessness, or poor decision-making is no longer seen as a character flaw. It becomes communication. In GHK, bioaggression is biological. It often reflects unresolved conflicts around territory and identity. Adolescence is a developmental phase driven by a biological need to separate, test limits, and establish a sense of place in the world. When that movement is constrained, over-controlled, or experienced as unsafe, aggression naturally emerges as part of the body's adaptive response. Many parents feel frightened when they see peer pressure, vaping, excessive screen use, or stimulant drinks like energy drinks enter their teenager's life. From a GHK perspective, these behaviors are not the root problem. They are coping strategies, attempts to regulate an inner tension that has nowhere else to go. They provide a sense of relief, belonging, or power for a teen. When parents only focus on stopping the behavior, the underlying biological need remains unresolved. The first and most important shift from a GHK perspective is for parents to avoid moral judgment. With behaviors like vaping or energy drinks, GHK's approach would not begin with immediate bans. Setting control often triggers territory conflicts and escalates rebellion. Instead, the focus is awareness and context. What is happening just before the urge? What sensation or emotion is being avoided? When parents stay curious rather than reactive, teenagers often open up in ways that surprise them. When adults hold calm presence and clarity, teens no longer need to fight so hard to be seen. When a teenager is labeled as irresponsible, addicted, aggressive, or out of control, their psyche experiences that as a threat to identity. The biology responds with resistance. Fear and punishment escalate the conflict rather than calm it. GHK invites parents to regulate themselves first. A calm, grounded parent signals safety to a nervous system that is already overstimulated and reactive. Authority rooted in fear amplifies bioaggression. Authority rooted in steadiness and clarity softens it. Territory is central during adolescence. Teenagers need real territory, not symbolic freedom. They need areas of life where they feel respected, trusted, and not constantly corrected. This might look like having a voice in schedules, clothing, music, or social spaces. When territory is honored, aggression often decreases on its own. GHK encourages parents to ask different questions. Where does my teenager feel powerless? Where do they feel unheard? Where are they unable to push back safely? The goal is not suppression, it's redirection. Bioaggression needs a channel, physical movement, challenge, responsibility. guided risk, and meaningful contribution regulate this phase far more effectively than rules alone. When aggression is guided instead of shut down, it matures into confidence, direction, and self-trust. In essence, GHK shifts parenting teenagers from control to comprehension. When a teen feels understood rather than managed, bioaggression loses its fuel. What remains is a young person learning to express their power in a way that feels safe, and a parent who doesn't lose connection with their teen. Thank you.
Oh, Julie, that was wonderful. And how incredibly important and vital information for any parent who has teens. The territory, the male and female territories that we have that are so biological really do show us what behavior issues are going on. So that knowledge is vital, I think, for parents with teens. Let's have healthy teens, right? Not ones that are bioaggressive. Our last speaker in the parenting topic will be Dr. Reina, who is talking about easy parenting with the knowledge of GHK. Dr. Reina, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So parenting is not about perfection. It is about understanding. Parents' struggles are not because of lack of love, but because of lack of understanding. I am a homeopathic doctor, so I have all my instruments, all my modalities very handy. And I used to be a very anxious mother. So when like my daughter fell ill or they had cold, I would want that they should not miss their schools, they should not miss their swimming and other lessons. So I would try everything what I could do to make them all right as soon as possible. And then GHK came into my life and my journey started from home. So I could understand what they are going through. They are going through the healing phase, so the symptoms are going to be there, and we have to have patience. It has made me, the knowledge of GHK has made me more calmer, more patience, and less anxious. What I would do is I would put my anxieties into them, that they have to eat properly, they have to exercise regularly so that they don't fall ill. But then they would get annoyed, and I did not know what was happening to them out of my anxieties. So gradually, when I learned about GHK, we had a mother and daughter bonding at the time of conflict resolutions. We bonded on meals, we bonded on coffee, but we also bonded on the meals. I could see that I'm a mother of two daughters, and I could manage them differently because one was more sensitive to ego and self-esteem, other wanted love, touch, care, affection. So the management and the conflict resolution changes as per the individual. I got to learn their sensitive issues, what was affecting them more, and that is how we could bond over that and resolve the conflicts together. Now the reciprocation is such. They were already into teens when I started using the GHK knowledge. And one of my daughters, Simran, is also a part of this platform and she would be talking on this. But then the reciprocation was such that when I sometimes complained of headache or something, they would make me aware. Mama, you are going through something. What is your conflict? You need to resolve it. So that was the to and fro reciprocation which we have bonded over. Also, as a parent, I think I have a mom who's 80 years, and me as a daughter, I become her parent also. So she does not understand the GHK or the conflict resolutions, but just talking to her, just talking on that particular conflict, when she says that this is paining, I have a shoulder injury, or my lower back is aching, I just move around on that topic. And she feels that though she is on some medication, but the healing process becomes very easy. She's ready to accept and she understands it so well. And another issue which I saw was I have a pet dog and I am a cat mom as well. So once when we were on vacation and we came back from vacation, my dog had lost his hair around the mouth and there was some itching, scratching, and he would some discharges kind of. So we did not run or we did not rush to the vet, but we understood that he missed us. So just, petting, cuddling, and giving them love resolved it within 1 month. Even when my cat was introduced to him, he would bark and there would be spurts of urine falling down. So we understood that it was somebody coming into his territory which he was not accepting. So pet him at the same time you pet the cat, and little slow in introducing and all helped us, manage the situations. And now he barks as if there is a family member coming near him. So that is the changes which I have noticed in all my journey. And this is a beautiful journey. GHK has really helped in resolving so many issues, be it children, be it your parents, be it the animals. It is a natural way of healing. And I thank Dr. Hammer for introducing that into our lives. Thank you.
Wonderful, Dr. Reina. So important. I love how you shared stories about children, elderly, animals, because we're all part of this biological world together. And I will point out, I love it when our kids will say to us, "Hey, mommy, I think you're conflict active," or whatever it is they say. It's like, okay, now we have to own this, right? Now we have this amazing knowledge. We've passed it on to our children. Now we're being held responsible for ourselves by our children. So I love that. So that wraps up the parenting part of the topic for parenting, but we're going to turn to a slightly different one now, and that's more caregiving for elderly. And we're very fortunate to have Dr. Valerian Mendoza here, and he will be talking about a GHK approach to geriatric care that helps caregivers look beyond diagnosis and support healing through safety, emotional accompaniment, and restored human connection. Welcome, Valerian.
Thank you, Andy. So, as we live longer, caring well for the elderly has become an urgent and growing challenge. When we speak about geriatric care, we often begin with a diagnosis: dementia, Alzheimer's. He's gone senile, we often hear. GHK invites us to begin somewhere else, with the person. Behind many conditions in old age is not just aging, but loss. During their lifetime, they witnessed loss of loved ones, loss of roles, loss of independence, loss of meaning. And when such losses are not acknowledged, the mind and body sometimes withdraws, not as failure, but as protection. Let me share a lived example, and I'm allowed to mention the name here. A 92-year-old Irish friend, Brother Maurice Finn of Christian Brothers, once cared for a much elder colleague from his congregation. He was diagnosed with early Alzheimer's. The memory loss began after the death of his beloved niece. The grief was never spoken about. Instead of treating him as someone who was gone, my friend chose presence. Every day, he took him to the beach. Same place, same cafe, same table. They sat there, they talked about his niece, they talked about his childhood, they spoke about his Christmas morning birth. There were tears, but there was also safety. Slowly, memories return, songs, stories, even crossword clues. Over time, his awareness came back, almost fully. In fact, Brother Finn puts it at 95%. My friend in reality was practicing biological living. That is healing through emotional accompaniment and restored connections. This brings me to another important wisdom shared by Brother Finn. He says, often younger people, even a 60-year-old, tell an 80-year-old, "Don't worry, everything will be fine." But the truth is, we are not there. We are not 80. We do not live in their body. We do not know their losses, their fears. So instead of reassuring, we need to ask, what do you want? What would you like to do? Another moment that stays with me deeply is one of my visit to a senior citizen home. One of the residents said, people visit us with sweets, goodies, especially during Christmas. But what we really want is to go out for a picnic, maybe for a walk to the park or to the beach. And this is the hard truth for us. Often our care is about what we like to give, not about what seniors love or long for. GHK reminds us that healing in old age is not about fixing or correcting. It is about creating safety, accompanying emotions, restoring choice and connections. So when seniors feel seen, heard, and respected, something within them relaxes, and sometimes clarity returns. So geriatric care beyond diagnosis becomes an act of humility, walking with, not deciding for, listening, not assuming. And that perhaps is where real healing begins. Thank you for listening and for the openness to explore biological living. Thank you.
Oh, that was wonderful. How incredibly profound, how very simple, and yet how incredibly profound that it helped to produce a huge change for this older gentleman. This is a wonderful lesson for all of us to remember as we move through our life, and especially as we work with folks that are older, as our parents get older, our relatives, our friends. Thank you so much, Valerian. So next we turn to a new topic that is intergenerational awareness. And next, who will be speaking is Dr. Anil Rato. And I hope I said that right. And how and why I taught GHK to my family and its impact. So I welcome Dr. Anil. Go ahead and let's hear your story. I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you, Andy. And my sincere thanks to Dr. C.J. Verghese sir for his guidance and his inspiration. Hello to everyone joining us from different parts of the world. Yeah, my name is Dr. Anil Subhash Rathod, MD homeopath practicing in Bid, Maharashtra, India. And my topic is how and why I taught GHK to my family and its impact. I came from small village in India. My parents and many members of my family's generation did not have access to formal education. Because of this, like in many families across the world, there were strong fears and misconceptions about health, illnesses, and life challenges. As the first doctor in my family and village, I felt responsibility not to correct or challenge anyone, but to bring clarity, awareness, and calm into everyday life. Why I introduced GHK to my family is I did not introduce GHK to my family as a medical system. I introduced it as a way of understanding life, emotions, and personal responsibility. The reason was very simple. I wanted my family to live with less fear and more awareness. Before GHK, whenever something happened, whether physical symptoms, emotional stress, or sudden challenges, the natural reaction was anxiety and urgency. GHK offered a different perspective: observation instead of panic, understanding instead of suppression, responsibility instead of helplessness. The core understanding I shared was slowly and gently my family began to understand that the body and mind are intelligent and purposeful. Symptoms are not enemies, but signals. Not every discomfort needs fear or the force. Awareness changes reactions, and reaction changes outcomes. GHK helped create a common language in our family based on meaning and timing rather than blame or fear. How I introduced GHK. I did not teach GHK through lectures or technical explanations. I introduced it through daily life and simple conversations. When something happened, we would calmly ask, what changed recently? What emotional or situational stress might be involved? What is the calmest and the most sensible response right now? Over the time, GHK became the living approach, not a belief system. The impact of GHK on my family. The most visible change was a shift in mindset. My family became less fearful of symptoms and challenges, more emotionally open and honest, better at handling uncertainty, more trusting and natural processes, no more trusting to natural processes. There was less panic and less dependency. Instead of immediate seeking external reassurance, they began to observe, reflect, and communicate. Why I deliberately avoided is that turning family into a constant analysis. I GHK was never imposed, and it was never used to dismiss real needs. Balance, empathy, and human humanity always came first. The conclusion is teaching GHK to my family was not about preventing illness or controlling life. It was about cultivating awareness, calmness, and responsibility. In simple words, GHK helped us move from reacting to life to understanding life. Thank you.
That's incredibly powerful. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I love how you said that you just shared it by teaching them how to understand life. I love, and I hope at some point that's how we share Gamanasha Heilkunde, is how to enjoy life, how to understand life, how to understand ourselves. That is really the core of what Gamanasha Heilkunde is all about. So beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that sharing. Next, we will go to another topic, and this one is on close and intimate relationships. We have joining us Ellie Abella, and she will be talking about renesting family relationships, especially parents and parents to kids. Welcome, Ellie.
Thank you so much, Andy. And I just want to get a volume check. Is my audio okay? Thank you so much. Okay. Good day, everybody. I'm Ellie Abella, human potential coach and biohacking pioneer of the Philippines. I live Germanische Heilkunde in my work with families and disconnected relationships, children with mental health issues and special needs. When I sit with parents and children, I usually don't ask what's wrong with a child. I'm listening for relationship patterns that shape the child's nervous system and biology. So the question that I ask is, what happened to the child? And behind that would be more questions. How nested was the baby with the mother? And how nested is the mother with her husband and the rest of the family? With parents and small babies, the pattern is always a separation conflict, an unwanted separation from the mother. Separation can be physical, like early medical intervention or time in the NICU. But it can also be emotional, like a mother who was overwhelmed, unsupported, or frightened during pregnancy or birth. So my work starts with reconnection. I help guide mothers and babies into sensory bonding, eye contact, voice, gentle touch, skin-to-skin contact, cradling. They slow down, they breathe together, they let their heart rhythms find each other. Resonance. The connection is palpable, and the separation conflict resolves with time. Between parents, the conflicts shift. The parents are in a discordant, distressful relationship. Here I often see identity and territorial biological conflicts, partners who don't feel respected, seen, or understood. There are power struggles, resentment that boils silently. Men and women respond to these threats differently at a biological level. And explaining that can already soften years of blame. But insight alone doesn't fully repair connection. So we move into bonding sessions. We create a safe space where partners practice speaking to each other objectively, without defending, without arguing. They name what they experienced. They offer compassion and forgiveness in their own words. And we end with touch, with a hug, with spoken repair. So the resolution is felt in the body and not just processed in the mind. With older children and teenagers, the dominant theme, depending if it is a constellation or a single conflict, is identity, just like Julie said. Children want love, yes, but they also want to be seen as capable, trusted, and respected. When they feel constantly corrected or doubted, their system responds in survival mode. They change their behavior, they become demotivated, and start to either rebel or hide. So I guide parents to reflect back and change their language to address not a child, but a capable learner who can use mistakes to get better. And then I ask parents to back those words with action, real responsibility, real trust, real autonomy. And when children feel seen and trusted, their behavior often reorganizes without force, and their identity is secure. Across all these relationships, the work looks different, but the pattern is the same. Recognizing the biological conflict, finding biological solutions by repairing rupture, restoring safety, and reestablishing connection. That's how I live Germanische Heilkunde as a relational practice, as a guide for communication and action within the nest. And I'm just going to let that timer go. And my closing line would be, when we master our relationships, we master our biology. Thank you.
Such wisdom in your entire speech, but especially in that last sentence. Our relationships is what it's all about. I love what you're doing, Ellie, and what an amazing, amazing opportunity you have to work with these families and restore the trust and the connection between mothers and children, parents and children. So thank you for all that you're doing as well. Oh my gosh, all of you, the speakers so far have been really phenomenal and very heartfelt and have a message that is so beyond just biological health. So I hope that the audience is hearing that and realizing, oh, there's a lot more here to it than, oh, what do I do? Why do I have a common cold, right? There's so much more to it. Let's get into health a little bit here, in that our next topic is about health decisions. They're reframed, so the focus is on the process, not on a case study here perhaps, but this is Dr. Varghese who will be speaking next on how I live GHK, and you can too. Dr. Varghese. You're muted on Zoom.
Respected dignitaries, dear mentors, faculty members, colleagues, and friends, I greet you all with gratitude. I joined the Homeopathy Medical College in 1974. I have 52 years of association with homeopathy and 48 years as a qualified practitioner. I was a topper in my examinations, and I can confidently say that I'm a successful homeopathic practitioner. I say this only to assure you that what I share today comes from experience and not from theories. I first heard about Dr. I.K. Hammer in the year 2008, but I started learning GNM seriously from 2013. Since then, through GNM India, Global GNM, and now Global GHK, I have dedicated my life to learning and sharing this knowledge. I can honestly say I never doubted its truthfulness. After learning GHK, I understood my human organism in a completely new way. I now understand my sleep, appetite, stool, thirst, urine, intimacies, sexual life, everything in a meaningful biological manner. Because of this understanding, I have never felt the need for blood tests, scans, or unnecessary investigations. From my long medical experience, I can say this very clearly. Frequent medical investigations done out of anxiety about their own health often cause more harm than benefit. Just as birds in the sky, animals on land, and fish in water live naturally, we too can live beautifully and fearlessly when we trust biology. GSK taught me that psychic and biological conflicts initiate the meaningful programs we call diseases. This understanding has given me total freedom from the fear of disease. I also understood the true meaning of diagnosis. Conventional medicine focuses mainly on the body and ignores the psyche. The more we chase diagnosis, the more we move away from biology. Understanding is far more important than labeling. Let me share a short experience in 2015 at an international GNM conference held in Salzburg, Austria by Caroline Marcolin. 3 of us went climbing a nearby mountain. I noticed a Canadian lady above 70 climbed faster than both of us. When I asked her how, she said, because of GNM. At that time, I didn't understand. Today, at 73, I understand it completely. Life is designed by God, and death also is designed by God. When GHK is properly understood, there is no need to fear death. I often tell my patients, you didn't choose your father or mother. You didn't choose your gender or date of birth. Even your name was not your choice. Everything we have is a gift of God. By God's grace, GSK has helped me understand the conflicts of every patient who came to me. My relationships, family life, social life, and professional life all improved through this knowledge. There is a saying, learn swimming before you fall in deep waters. In the same way, learn GHK before life brings serious conflicts. GSK also showed me how essential it is in homeopathy practice. I strongly feel it is high time for homeopathy to disengage from conventional medicine and realign with the biological wisdom of GSK. If this happens, GSK-based homeopathy can become the leading medical system in the world, freeing humanity from the fear of diseases. Therefore, I can confidently say, I live GHK. And now, the most important part, you can too. I request, inspire, and strongly motivate each one of you. Learn GHK for your own peace and fearlessness. Learn it for your family and loved ones. Learn it for your professional life, help others with clarity, and if possible, share it with the world. This is not just a knowledge, it is divine wisdom revealed by Dr. Hammer for the world. It is a way of life, a life aligned with biology, a life aligned with Creator. I live GHK and you can too. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Varghese. Such wisdom right there. This is knowledge that all of us can use. Like you said, the more that we learn it, the more that we're able to share it. And even if you're feeling like, oh, I don't know enough, you do. Even if you know a tiny amount, you know more than most people on this planet. So share that wisdom as much as you can with whatever knowledge you have. You never know where that, I always say we're gardeners, right? We're planting seeds. You never know where that seed will germinate and grow. So feel free to share this with everyone that you can. Let's now look at new relationships and dating. What does that have to do with Ganesha Heilkunde? How do we even begin to combine those two? Next, we'll be hearing from Christine Cardoza, and she's going to talk about dating from a GHK perspective. What's the type of partner she's looking for to attract? And about the feminine and the masculine communication and needs and boundaries. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and happy anniversary, Global GHK. It's such a beautiful community and super grateful to be a part of it. Thank you, Dr. Varghese. I am excited to talk about dating. That's the, where I am at, and having dated before GHK and after, I can really look at the differences in the type of relationships, even the type of men that I have been looking for. I really find that, taking a step back to figure out, who am I? What's my biology? What do I really want in a partner? and then looking at it through the GHK lens, more from the hormonal perspective. So as a woman, if I am, I'm not going to go too deep into hormones, but, I'm looking to attract a masculine type man. And before, I was a very masculine, dominant kind of woman. So I would attract more feminine kind of men and could not understand, where my needs were not being met or why I felt like I needed to be the one in charge or to take the lead and that kind of thing. And it wasn't until I took Freya, which really helped to understand the way that men think. That helped me a lot, but also the biological needs between men and women and how, we are so affected by our own territory. For a woman, it would be our body. For a man, it's everything within his territory. And so just even having the territory language has been a huge help to hear when someone is speaking and what their goals are, what they're looking for, and whether, I align with that. I think naturally or biologically, we can find a partner that is best for us. But if you're finding you're in relationships where it's the same issue over and over, and discovering it's like, okay, where am I a part of the problem? Or what is it in my core root belief that I believe in attracting a mate that I definitely took time to look at. And so for dating, I don't recommend dating apps. That's not biological. We're not used to meeting online. What I would recommend if you are online is to get on a video call as soon as possible, as soon as there's some kind of a connection, so that you can get a feel for them and, what are they saying and what are their goals, that kind of thing. But getting into community is going to be the best because we're tribal. And when you're at community events, whether it's, going to a yoga retreat or something can be around dating, can be Tantra experience. Those are also really good because you're getting an opportunity to witness yourself in the situation and where maybe you might be territorial. Or what I have found is, by knowing my own conflicts, to not attract someone where maybe their own conflicts are going to aggravate mine as well. So just like being able to really know yourself and to know, who it is that you're looking at. I find also salsa dancing is super helpful because there's a lead and a follow. No matter which, I call them poles of a battery, masculine and feminine. It's not gender related. It's more from your hormonal perspective. And with dancing, there is the lead and the follow. And then you can decide, where you fit in, but also the type of partner that you're looking for. So as a female, I highly recommend to take a step back and just look at, what are your conflicts from a GHK perspective? What's your territory? What are you looking for? And to be able to attract then someone where you're going to feel like your needs are being met because you actually know what they are first, and then how to ask for them or how to express them. So I just wanted to say thank you again. I want to tell one quick story. I reconnected with an old partner. We dated for a number of years and we just chatted last week. And it was so interesting because I was very masculine when I was with him, perspective. And so just seeing him again and feeling safe in the conversation, we chatted for over 3 hours. But then the neat thing I want to share is that I went into resolution the same day after talking to him. So some territorial marking conflicts, because I thought there was a cheating aspect back then, and also fallopian and ovary resolutions that lasted for 2 days. And I was like, first of all, where'd this come from? And I had to think, what did I resolve? And I'm like, oh yeah, I talked to Michael, and that's totally where that came from. So I just want to say thank you for an opportunity to speak, and it's a pleasure.
Wonderful perspective, Christine. And it's not something we would normally think of when we think about dating. And so thank you for bringing in that information and also that story. It's like, there's no fear, right? You know what's going on. Something happened. Oh, yeah. Now you figure it out. That was what I solved. There's no greater wisdom and knowledge than Ganesha Heilkunde for pretty much every single aspect of our life. I hope that's what people are getting from these stories so far. Now we're going to go to a very different topic, and this is about emergency situations. We're not talking health, going to the emergency room. And this is my own story that I'm sharing about how I used Ganesha Heilkunde in a flood and a hurricane, and to minimize my biological conflict shocks. This was in September of 2024. I experienced a severe hurricane and flood in Western North Carolina. That's where I live. It's in the mountains. Hurricanes are not unheard of there, but this one was far more serious than what was expected, and it led to a significant flooding in my community. So houses, bridges, power lines, lots were lost. Over 100 people died. There were billions of dollars in damage that is still being repaired. So from a GHK perspective, my focus is not on preventing conflict shocks because you can't. That's not possible. Instead, I was hoping to reduce the intensity of my biological conflict shocks that I could potentially receive by addressing those 3 criteria for a conflict shock. And that's that it's distressing, it's isolated if you're all by yourself, and it's unexpected. If all 3 occur, you start a biological program. So what did I do? First, I prepared in advance. I gathered food and water, basic supplies for at least a week, and this helped to reduce distress around survival and scarcity. Then I intentionally avoided isolation. When most of my neighbors evacuated, another woman and I remained in our homes, and we were in constant contact throughout the storm, and that was a lifeline for both of us. And it's certainly important for me. I can easily run the kidney collecting tubule program feeling abandoned or unsupported. Thirdly, I made a point to communicate very openly and repeatedly with my neighbors in the days leading up to the storm. So we talked through various possible scenarios, including the worst case scenarios. My house could be washed away, my car, my dog could get swept away. And by naming these and discussing what might happen, I was working to reduce the element of unexpectedness as much as I could. During the storm itself, it was a very intense 6 hours, and the flooding reached my home, and water came up through the floor of my living room. And so I spent several hours bailing water. So what did I do? I just focused on practical action. I'm bailing water, I'm monitoring the situation, I'm maintaining communication. I had several moments of potential DHSs, potential conflict shocks. If the water rose further, I would lose my car. If it rose beyond that, I would need to evacuate. So I identified an escape route in case I had to leave quickly with my dog. And I checked my hands and feet at various times. Am I conflict active? And I did not appear to be. So by staying mentally engaged, socially connected, and oriented towards solutions, I was able to remain calm despite the severity of the situation. Eventually, the rain stopped, the water receded, the immediate danger passed. And in the weeks that followed, although we did not have power or drinkable water, the community support was very strong, and that further reinforced safety and connection. So in summary, I would say I used GHK by preparing for basic survival needs, talking through worst case scenarios ahead of time, staying connected to others to avoid isolation, and I maintained situational awareness. I had an escape plan. So these steps help to, I think, reduce the intensity of potential conflict shocks during a very real emergency. And maybe if I hadn't done these, I wouldn't have had any conflict shocks anyway. I don't know. But in using my knowledge of GHK and knowing my biological programs, and I demonstrated how GHK could guide me, not just in health, but how we meet life under pressure. So I encourage everyone to know and understand the biological programs that you run, your tracks as well, so you can address them as best you can during times. Okay, so that's my little story of what I did in an emergency. Every situation will be different, but I thoroughly enjoyed putting this presentation together. It really made me realize that, oh, I did more than I realized from a GHK perspective, and we can all do that by knowing GHK and by knowing ourselves. Okay, next, we're going to move on to the workplace and authority relationships. That's our next topic. And we'll have Christine Cardozo back again, and she will be talking about how GHK changed how she runs her wellness spa, using less modalities and instead perhaps teaching them a bit more. So Christine, welcome again.
Thank you so much. And I'll just explain a little bit about the business to understand what it is that I do here. So I own Oasis of Healing Spa in Waterloo, Ontario, just outside of Toronto. And I have 2 salt caves. And the main purpose that people come for is to learn how to, well, to breathe easy. With the halotherapy and the salt, what it does is it helps to clear passageways so that people can get a better breath. That's the premise of the business. And so when I took over, I did not know GHK at the time. And the main thing was people come in with lung or issues with congestion in the face. So I'd learned that. I'd already been learning some energy modalities, the metaphysical connection or esoteric reason for symptoms on why people have them. So I feel like I've studied and been in the emotional body when I took over the spa. And then 6 months later, in November of 2022, I found GHK through a group on Telegram who were natural wellness practitioners or people who are learning how to look after themselves from a natural perspective. And it just came across in one comment and I was like, what is that? So as soon as I started to look into it, it changed my life. All the books that I had studied, especially with the metaphysical stuff, I put them away in a cupboard and I haven't even looked at them in 3 years. GHK has really just changed the biological reason on why someone is having a symptom or what is going on. So I shifted my brain from, people coming in to need healing for whatever their symptoms were to teaching them how to read their own body language. I've been a teacher in many areas over the years. And so instead of trying to help someone to resolve their conflict or what it is, if they understand why they have it, then they're now in a place of power to be able to make the changes that they need, whether it's a perspective change or a biological change. So I always look at the body first. I'm asking them, when they come in, I've got a form and I'm asking them, are you right-handed, left-handed? Because already I'm looking at what side of the brain is going to be more predominant. What are the symptoms? What side of the body? And just teaching them the very basics of GHK. They also receive a paper to take home with the 2 phases so that they can actually know what is going on when a new symptom arises. So what I share with them, I explain what the 2 phases are and, just to give them that basis. And then I recommend, I say, take this 2-phase sheet and hang it up in a kitchen cupboard or in the bedroom closet so that when you have a new symptom in your family, you can open the closet or the door and look at the phases and figure out, are you in conflict active? Based on the symptoms that I go over, or are you in a healing phase? And so what it does is it gives people then the opportunity to look at their own health and how they feel in the moment. If you're hot, you're healing. If you're cold, you're in conflict, right? Just depending, as a very vague way of looking at your temperature. And so that has really been, very powerful in a way of taking the business and, instead of the healing per se, but really empowering them to be able to look at their body, their symptoms, their situation. Because so often, we're not taught to look at what's going on in your environment, what is happening that would possibly, be the cause of those symptoms. And when you start to put them together, it makes a lot of sense. In the beginning, when I was learning GHK, I would put them in the salt cave and, say, enjoy 5-10 minutes and just rest. And then I would come out and I'd look up what their symptoms were and it would match the story every time. And I'm like, this is so, it's just so cool. And I want to show you, I have this wall of learning as well that I've created, the 4 brain types. And so I just took some of the information that I had been learning, the 2 phases, the chart book. This one I highly recommend, especially if you're a practitioner, that you own this one from Michi D. Dirk, so that you can, look at the symptoms and what the reason is or why the person is having the symptoms. Thank you.
Wonderful, Christine. Thank you for sharing that. And I think I would say all of us who have come to Ganesha Heilkunde with modalities, with knowledge and healing knowledge, we do tend to have to reframe everything that we use because now that we know GHK, we're going to use everything differently. And it sounds like you've definitely done that. I love your wall of just information for folks. So nice work. And now let's switch over to animals. How do we do this with animals? And so next we'll have Dr. Shri Kumar, who's a holistic veterinarian. He will be telling us about how he applies GHK to prevent the incidence of illness in animals and birds by understanding their species behavior and functions in natural environments before we decide to domesticate them. So welcome, Dr. Shri Kumar. I am looking forward to this.
Thank you, Andy. Welcome, friends. I'm a holistic veterinarian from Kerala, India. Before understanding GHK, as a usual veterinarian, when some animal owner of the animal comes to me, they will say the symptoms, and I will always relate it to which is the organism causing the disease. And that is how the treatment also was given to them. But after understanding GHK with the help of Dr. Varghese and his team, now when a farmer or anyone tells me about the symptoms of the animal, what the suffering is, I do not think about the organism. I just tell them, please don't tell the name of the disease. You just tell me the symptoms. Keep telling me the symptoms. And as they keep telling me the symptoms, I'm just looking into what to be the conflict. And then finally, I will sum up the conflict and tell them, yes, your animal is suffering because of this. But they have called me for a medicine. But I tell them, first of all, you should understand what is the cause of the problem. So when I went through my veterinary medicine text, what I saw was almost all the diseases that is mentioned, so-called diseases mentioned in the veterinary text, the actual cause is the unintended consequence of the decisions taken by human beings to meet a need, to meet a desire, or to solve a problem. We are sharing many things with all the other species with whom we are living in this ecosystem. That is, we all of us feed, all of us sleep, all of us procreate, and all of us defend ourselves. But the difference is that that is other than human beings, no species uses tools to do these four functions. We use tools to do these four functions. The more and more we are in the comfort zone using the tools, the more the suffering for the animals also. I will share it with an example. There is one dreaded disease in dogs that is called canine distemper. And when the person was narrating the symptoms, he said it starts with watery eyes, congested eyes. Then I'm thinking, yes, visual conflict. Then he says the running nose. Later on, it becomes greenish yellow pus. Okay, it is a sen conflict and fear fright. Then he says later on there is fever. Then he says, see, finally it ends up with convulsions, seizures, and epilepsy. So then I am just thinking, what is it that incident that happens to the dog, which has these four conflicts happening simultaneously? What is that incident? So then I'm asking, just inquiring around, which is the time that you see this disease? Then I understood that it is after the start of winter. So then I'm looking, what is the incident that could have triggered this animal to have these four conflicts together? And then finally I found out what was in the Deepavali celebrations in India starts with the onset of the winter only. So the dogs are not used to, none of the species other than humans enjoy firecrackers. They cannot manage firecrackers. So what happens is they see the light, they hear the sound, fear is there, and they get stuck. What to do? Where to run? They may be some confinement. Where to run? Nothing can be done. So they feel stuck. And in the healing phase is that they see all these epilepsy and all those things. So I was so thrilled, and I found out the reason. I started telling my friends, see, this is the reason. There is no point in vaccination because the cause is not bacteria. The cause is the human decisions. So then they say, oh, I'll observe. So I'm thinking, mass vaccination is done to dogs for canine distemper. But actually the cause is Deepavali celebrations. That is our comfort zone using tools. So now each and every disease that comes to me, now I'm just telling them this is the cause of the problem, this is the cause of the problem, not the bacteria. This is the emotion that caused this decision that we have taken. The tools that we're using to manage the decision is the cause of the problem. So the more and more people come to know about GHK, and more people live GHK life, I'm sure the life of animals and plants, or all the species around us, will be harmonious, happy, and healthy. Thank you.
Wonderful. Oh my gosh. I think we all need to look at distemper in our dogs and see what went on just before that. It's so true. We apply GHK principles not just to us, but to all species. And so we have something similar in the United States. It's the July 4th is when we have fireworks. I wonder if distemper increases after that. I'll have to do some research on that, but that's something we can all do in our own country to see what was going on for your area if any animals start to have a certain set of symptoms. Such knowledge. Thank you so much for that. Our next topic is about politics, and this is my story and about how I have an entirely different lens through which I now see governments, and especially my own, and how GHK has radically changed my political views in many instances. So I will share my little story here. I can honestly say that GHK completely changed my political outlook, something I never expected when I began studying it almost 18 years ago. Like many people, I thought GHK was about health and our body. I didn't realize how it would eventually change how I see governments and authority and my own role in society. The shift was, of course, unmistakable in 2020, when the entire world changed pretty much overnight. Before that, I knew that the information people received from their physicians was not accurate. That was clear. But then it got much larger after 2020. Because I understood GHK, and most of you listening to this do as well, I could immediately see that what was happening. And when I looked at that, I said, okay, this is not real. This is not what they say it is going on. Yes, people were sick, and yes, people died, but we all knew why and how. I understood the biological causes of disease, the role of fear, shock, not to mention territorial anxiety and isolation. I knew how large-scale fear messaging can activate biological programs in millions of people simultaneously. It's as if those giving those messages knew GHK. They knew exactly what to do. So watching this whole global theater unfold, I was struck not just by the fear that they were promoting, but also by the level of control being exercised by many governments and global institutions. This was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. This was different. Knowing GHK allowed me to question what I was being told, not emotionally, but biologically. I know that disease is not caused by contagion, so I naturally began to question the policies that are built on that assumption. The questioning didn't stop at health policy. It led me to examine authority, governance, and the role governments have because the role that governments believe they have in regulating human behavior. So I studied history more deeply, my own US Constitution, our Bill of Rights, the foundational documents that I think many countries have. And so I started to make some very personal choices. I was wanting to protect individual sovereignty for the first time in my life at a more political level. I realized that the actions that I was witnessing were fundamentally incompatible with the principles that I believed governments were supposed to uphold. So, like I said, I made very personal changes. I changed my voting affiliation to become more independent. I became far more intentional about how I vote, where I spend my money, and what organizations I financially support. I now prioritize supporting groups that value sovereignty, informed consent, and individual responsibility. They wanted us to think we were responsible for our neighbor's health. Well, that's hogwash. That's psychological warfare. More importantly, GHK helped me to step out of political reactivity. So I no longer engage in daily political drama. It's not real. It's just a theater, because the state of constant alarm doesn't serve my biology or my clarity. Instead, I focus on what I can do, and that is educating others about the true causes of disease, how to think and live biologically, and how to support systems that respect human autonomy. So GHK didn't tell me what to think politically, it changed how I think. And when you understand real biology, fear becomes easier to recognize. And once you see fear being used as a tool, it becomes very difficult to unsee that. So GHK has reshaped how I view government, authority, responsibility, and my own path forward. And I encourage everyone here, no matter what country you're in, to look at how this knowledge may be quietly reshaping your own life in this aspect as well. So that's my story about my own views politically and how they have changed so much since I began learning Ganesha Heilkunde. Our next topic is about finances. So we're going from politics to finances. Isn't this fun? And we're all under the guise of biological living and biological thinking. Next, we will hear from Dr. Sarah. She will be talking about a financial mindset with GHK, how her financial journey on how understanding the consequences through GHK knowledge that helped her avoid conflict and navigate challenges. Welcome, Dr. Sarah.
Thank you, Andy. Can you imagine when all of a sudden you're happy, your beautiful life, it disappears in a blink? Before my life changed, everything was normal. I had a routine, I had a structure, and a sense of security. Like many women, I was financially dependent and did not think deeply about what life would be like that if that support was suddenly gone. I never imagined that I would have to face life on my own in this way. And then something unexpected happened. I lost my husband, and it came suddenly. I was not prepared for it, neither emotionally or mentally or financially. And overnight, my life changed. Along with that grief came fear, the responsibility, that uncertainty. Now, this kind of shock can easily push a person into panic, breakdown. And when I look back, I know one thing very clearly. If my faith and my basic understanding of GHK had not been there, I would have fallen into a devastating state. Now, the situation itself was difficult, but what could have destroyed me was that fear, that internal conflict. And today, I'm not here to talk about that health conflicts or those tracks. That could be for another time. But today, I want to talk about something that worries almost everyone after losing support, especially a woman who has always been financially dependent. That money, that survival. Finances was one of the biggest challenges. And what helped me most during that time was not money itself, but how I chose to handle the situation through my understanding of GHK. From the beginning, I was clear about one thing, that I was not in control, but I was in control of how much stress or conflict I can allow inside my body. I was not in control of the money, like how much I'm going to earn, what I'm going to do, but I knew how much stress or conflict I can take it, what would trigger me most. And because of that, because of the knowledge of the GHK, I understood that if I allowed that stress to turn into fear and panic, it would create a survival conflict. I did not want my situation to become a health problem. So I changed my focus. Instead of reacting emotionally, I chose awareness. When fear came, I noticed it. I reminded myself that stress would not improve my situation. It's only going to harm me. And living with GHK meant choosing calm over that panic. Even when I struggled, I did not sit in that stress. I focused on what I should do. And if something was in my control, I acted. And if it was not, I accepted. And that was a conscious choice I made. And there were moments when I felt myself slipping into that fear. And because of GHK, I could recognize that really early. Instead of reacting with panic, anger, self-blame, I stepped back. I grounded myself. I chose responses that protected my health, my peace. And GHK also helped me avoid unnecessary conflict with others. For me, GHK is not something I use when things go wrong, only it is something I live with it every day. So my financial situation did not define me and it did not control my health. It helped me stay conflict-free. So when this happened, we often feel that why me? But the truth is, many people are carrying that silent struggles. So when you stay at peace with yourself, you think more clearly. You make better decisions, you don't break from inside, and that inner stability becomes your real support. And that is what living with GHK truly means to me. Your life is best if you believe it's best. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you, Dr. Sarah. Such wisdom, how choosing calm changed your circumstances. And imagine if the whole world did that, what kind of changes would come about? It would be amazing. But it starts with every single one of us. Next, we'll be talking about spirituality and nature. We have two speakers under this topic. It's a good segue from what Dr. Sarah just said. So our first speaker is Ayush Guntia, and he will be talking about the correlation between GHK and the spiritual ideas of non-duality, plus the law of manifestation, which teaches us that we create our own reality. And I know you had a different heading there. Let me pull that up. And reality is neutral, meaning is mind-made. Welcome, Dr. Ayush.
Thank you, Andy. Reality is neutral, but our mind gives some meaning to it. We suffer in our own memory and imagination. We suffer something that does not exist as we perceive it. It is not in reality. It is only in our mind. Let me share one personal experience because it explains this title in a very real way. I had been suffering from urticaria, hives. It's a skin rash on the epidermis, top layer of the skin. The pattern was almost predictable. As soon as winter arrived, it used to trigger. Every year, when the season changed, winter came, my body would react. There would be rash, there would be itches all around it. And I feel I'm stuck with this. And it has been 6 years, I could not resolve this problem. Over time, through studying GHK, I realized something simple about myself. I had unknowingly connected winter with the unpleasantness of the cold air touching my skin. Winter is a season. Cold air touching the skin is just a sensation. But inside my mind, I had made it unpleasant. And that meaning started running automatically. For someone living in Russia or Canada, winter is a regular part of life. So the season itself was not the problem. I was not meeting winter as it is. I was meeting my own mental label about winters. And because of that label, I was living the season like a conflict. And once I could see that clearly, the change began. I started welcoming the winter season instead of dreading it. I withdrew the unpleasantness label of the cold air touching my skin. I stopped fighting it internally. And as I changed that relationship, my experience began changing. The symptoms started to reduce. So for me, this is precisely what the title means. The event itself is neutral. The winter season itself is neutral. The feeling of coldness on my skin is neutral. My mind had added meaning, and then I was living inside that meaning. I am a life coach. One important thing I teach is this: the event around us do not carry any emotional charge. Emotion is not inside the event. We assign emotion and then we experience life through that assignment of emotions. So the same event could be joyful for one or the source of suffering for another. It depends on what meaning the mind has given to it. And this is how I live with GHK, not as a theory, not as something I'm explaining here, but as a way of my life. Living with GHK has trained me to avoid giving labels to the events in my life. So I try to respond to every event objectively rather than relying on memory and imagination. This results in lasting peace. This results in avoidance of all conflict. This results in having a good relationship with people and environment around me. Therefore, I say that reality is neutral, meaning is mind-made. Thank you.
So insightful, right? And I think what I'm hearing is from all of our talks, and especially yours that you just gave, Ayush, is that we are so much more in control. We have so much more empowerment than we realize. We give our power away so much. And just by shifting our reality, shifting our thoughts, we can see that we have a whole different relationship then to the elements around us. Thank you so much. That's such a powerful, powerful lesson to learn. Our next person speaking under the spirituality and nature topic is Dr. Pankaj Radam, talking about his experiences with GHK in daily life and practice. And he wants to share about his own family, relatives, and patients and how they experience what they experience and how it boosted his confidence. So welcome, Dr. Pankaj.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Global GHK 9th Anniversary Celebrations. I am Dr. Pankaj Pradhan, and it's a thrill to share how GHK transforms lives in this international online webinar on Living GHK. I have been practicing as consultant homeopath for 17 years and as a clinical nutritionist and holistic healer since last 10 years. Yet, when I introduce myself as a doctor in society, as many of you may experience, people assume only MBBS, MD, or MS modern practitioners count. Ayush, naturopathy, holistic healing, GNM, and GHK get dismissed as a quackery and ignored by mainstream medicine as modern medicine and the pharma lobby dominated the world. It's a common self-worth conflict we all face. Many of among us are not sensitive, but some are. So when such situation comes in life, where our self-esteem is torn, or when our ego is hurted, I myself started lumbar back pain. And when before learning GNM, I was not knowing about that and taking medicines for temporary, it gave me relief. But when I come in contact with Dr. Varghese sir in seminar and learn 5 biological laws and then I realized that what is behind this and what is giving me the repeated episodes of that lumbar spine and lower back pain. So I started working on this and changed my reaction to the situations, and it helped me to overcome the pain. And this I applied with many of my patients, and I have cured many patients with lumbar spine autoimmune disorder like ankylosing spondylosis, DVT, and other cases. Today's generation also faces constant triggers, social media storms, work pressures, instant expectations, and impatient rules. Emotion explodes into anger, anxiety, or despair. Without control, these shocks spark diseases through GHK's biological laws, from back pain to chronic illnesses like cancers and autoimmune disorders. We need hammer science now more than ever. Before GHK, we treated these symptoms blindly. Now we see diseases as a meaningful responses to unresolved shocks. Resolve the conflict and symptoms, and health returns naturally. I have applied this teaching of hammer guided by Varghese sir in my practice, and I get better results many times without medicines, only with conflict healing. Because it's a pure science and there is nothing magic in this. This aligns perfectly with Srimad Bhagavad Gita's in 56 sloka in second adhyay. Na prarushet priyam prapyam, nodvijet prapyam cha priyam, sthita buddhira asambuddho, dhrutimana sattva sammahita. It means one who stays undisturbed by joy or sorrow, pleasant or painful, has steady wisdom, calm, clear, self-controlled. GHK delivers the same stability biologically, understands shocks, releases them, and gain inner peace beyond dogma. Dr. Hammer rejected fear-based religion, but embraced spiritual resolution, deep peace from truth. In India's spiritual echoes, this fits seamlessly. Knowledge dissolves ignorance like Vedanta teaches. Faith may support, but GHK stands alone as nature's law. Today, celebrating Global GHK 9th anniversary, this is our unified mission. Let's spread this medicine-free health worldwide, correcting platforms from Wikipedias to journals. United, we will guide society to emotional mastery and true healing. Friends, embrace GHK stability. Thank you.
Wonderful. So wise and so many great wisdom. So thank you so much for sharing that. You're absolutely right. We need to share this with so many more people, and hopefully through webinars and teleconferences such as this, we will continue to spread GHK around the world. Thank you so much. Our next topic is about identity and self-concept. We will have two speakers. Our first one is Julie Mentha, and she'll be talking about moving from symptom management to biological understanding. So Julie, welcome yet again.
Thank you. For a long time, celiac disease wasn't just something I had. It was a label that became my identity. It shaped how I went about my day, especially when it came to eating, both in my home and more so outside of it. It created a sense of fear around food. What can I make that's certified gluten-free? Will there be cross-contamination? Always having to call ahead, read labels, and an endless dialogue of explaining myself and my food restrictions to others. I related to myself as someone who needed constant protection. Food felt limited. I believed my immune system was attacking me, and that my only option was lifelong avoidance and management. I learned to see myself as someone who was broken, doing my best to cope with a body that had somehow failed me. I was even told this by my physician who diagnosed me. I'm so sorry, there is no cure. You will be on a restricted diet for the rest of your life. That identity quietly seeped into everything. I planned my life around symptoms. I doubted my body's intelligence. And underneath it all, I carried a subtle but constant fear. There's something wrong with me. I've changed. I didn't feel like the same person anymore. Then I was introduced to GHK. I was listening to a random podcast and heard about someone who cured their celiac. At first, deep inside, it challenged everything I thought I knew, but I felt a sudden urge to reach out immediately and understand more. I couldn't help but think, could I heal mine too? That call led me directly on to this path. Instead of asking what's wrong with my body, I learned to ask, what has my body been actually responding to? Instead of labeling symptoms as malfunctions, GHK frames them as meaningful biological responses to shock, stress, and unresolved conflict. That single shift in knowledge changed my identity more than any diet ever had. I began to see my body not as broken, but as deeply intelligent, not attacking me, but in fact, protecting me, responding precisely to one particular experience I hadn't fully processed. As I worked through the biological conflict, the tragic death of my 19-year-old brother, I connected to my original shock when my symptoms first started, and something unexpected happened. My relationship with myself softened. I stopped living in fear of my label. I stopped defining myself by a diagnosis. I started to tune into my subconscious with a new awareness instead of simply believing the label I was given. Healing for me wasn't just physical, it was an identity recalibration. I moved from seeing myself as a patient to seeing myself as a participant, from someone managing an incurable condition to someone restoring safety within my system. From believing my body was the problem to trusting it as the guide. As my symptoms resolved, so did the story I told about myself. I no longer identified as someone with celiac, a victim of my label. I identified as someone with a resilient, responsive body, one that had done exactly what it needed to do during times of stress and shock, and knew how to return to balance once safety was restored. Today, my identity is rooted in trust in my biology, and trust in my body's innate capacity to heal when it's no longer trapped in survival. Germanic healing knowledge didn't just change what I am now able to eat, it changed how I see myself. And when your identity shifts from broken to biologically intelligent, it changes how you live. I didn't just heal symptoms, I reclaimed myself. And I am happy to report I am completely celiac free. Thank you.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yeah. Fabulous, Julie. Oh my gosh. So true. Our identities and our beliefs keep us stuck. We come by them naturally, don't we? We all do. And when we begin to have that self-awareness of Ganesha Heilkunde, we can start to unpack all of that. Valuable, valuable lesson. Thank you, Julie. And next, we will hear from Dr. Simran, how a disease puts us in an area of victim mentality, which we are learning very cogently here, and how GHK helps us understand it as a biological program and helps us come out of the victim mentality of what's wrong with me, and instead going towards why this is happening to me. Dr. Simran, welcome.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. So glad to be a part of this discussion. But yeah, I think I would like to share my experience in living GHK with a short story where it was a phase of my life where I felt like there was a lot of, low immunity as the term being used because I was getting these recurrent cold coughs and viral infections. And in that whole time space, I felt like the victim because my point of view was that this is happening to me and I have no agency and I have no control over this. And healing right now depends on something outside of me. It depends on maybe how I'm eating or maybe what all is going on around me. And I was like, this is not in my control. And in this situation, I feel like what we've learned and after what we understood from GHK, the nervous system is stuck in a freeze and stuck in an area of helplessness because you feel like this is happening to me. Like, either God is doing this to me or the fate is doing this to me or someone is doing it to me because of which I'm falling so ill and because of which I have low immunity. Until we understand and learn the knowledge of GHK, where we take ownership. It is like whatever I'm holding on and whatever I am thinking about, I can let go of and take ownership as to what exactly is going on with me. So stepping out of that victim zone. So it's like a simple line like, I didn't choose the wound. Like in a lot of stories we heard till now, like we don't choose the wound, we don't choose the conflicts, we don't choose the stress that is coming to it, but I can choose how I respond to it. And while I'm responding to it in a way with ownership, with understanding how I can better tackle these areas, tackle these situations, and come out of this, I feel I could step out of that victim mentality. When you are a victim, there is no, you are just sitting with, your hands folded and letting nature or letting everybody around you do act in a certain way and be in a certain way. But here we became more of a participant into healing, participant into living in a way that our low immunity, the term low immunity goes away, and we're able to understand that what is causing these, what is the stink coming in, what are the things that are bothering me on a day-to-day life, and I could like counsel myself out of it. So, like there is a very famous quote which goes like, we always search for answers outside of us and we try to, look at things outside of us, around us, but we're never so, we are never in that place where we're looking inside, and this is a thing that comes from life. But I think GHK teaches us that this is something that you can do with diseases, you can do with your health, you can do at a day-to-day basis, where looking inside you is what makes you realize that this victim situation is something that you have created for yourself and nobody around you. It was not God, it was nothing around you that was creating this situation. And you take that ownership into yourself and help. And once you start to learn to do that, you can also help others around you. And that is, I think, the best thing because of my profession as well. I'm able to make people understand that if you are going to sit and not do anything about it, not understand what is happening inside your body, you are going to be in a place where someone else or something else will always control it. So once you take control of that understanding, you are able to help people around you. They are able to understand and realize their issues as well, their conflicts as well, and step out of that mentality, the whole victim mentality, once and for all. So I think that has been the biggest learning from from GHK that I got, and I could step out of that zone and easily understand that it was never this low immunity. It was just me trying to not understand my emotion. But now that I do, all these repeated cold coughs and allergies and all of these went down so well. So Dr. Varghese sir always called me the baby of GHK, but I have grown up as the baby of GHK because my parents are a part of it, and it's become an understanding in the house. So glad and so lucky. I hope we can spread this through. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Simran. It's wonderful to have a GHK baby here as well. So we love it. We want all the children in this world to be GHK babies. So thank you for your wisdom. Very, very, very wise. And you are so right. This is not just about understanding ourselves. When we do know ourselves better, more intimately because of GHK, we also know everybody else better because of this. That's wonderful wisdom. Thank you so much for your story. So we have one more topic and one more speaker. The topic is living GHK in a chaotic world. And our speaker is Dr. Asher, and he is talking about how fast does conflict resolution act. So welcome, Dr. Asher. I'm looking forward to hearing this.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, and congratulations to all to be on this platform and sharing their views, experiences. It was thrilling. It was really thrilling, and I'm really happy to see the GHK family growing. So congratulations once again. So I'm practicing now since 30 years. I was the first to go, I think, from India with Dr. Motiwala and learn under Caroline Marcolin. And since then, the journey of GHK started. What it has done to me, yes, as Dr. Pradhan was saying, in this situation where all the MD pharma companies are having their own ways and means and domination, GHK made us so powerful that we can ask them, or rather they will ask you, what is the reason behind my mother, my father, my relatives getting sick? You know, that hold comes in when you know GHK. So all the conventional doctors do call me when their loved ones are sick, just to know what must have caused it. And once they agree and they ask their relatives, did this happen? And they say, yes, it did happen. And after that, only I lost my sleep. I could not sleep that night, doctor. And what he's talking is right. And that changes. The relatives tell the doctor, the conventional doctor, we need to go to this doctor. Nobody has understood what I was suffering. And this is the one who exactly told me the story before I fell sick. So that's the confidence GHK and German New Medicine gives you. Just to do things home, I'll give you 2 examples how it has helped. Half the Bollywood was in Nasik. It's a very small city. Half the Bollywood came to Nasik once the COVID news spread, and they all knew the reason was a death fright conflict. And they wanted to know more, and they all came in helicopters. They came in whatever means they could to meet me, just to get out of that COVID infection. So that really changed my life and their life also. Just to give you 2 examples on this, which we need to take home, is I was called by a surgeon, and the child was suffering from intestinal intussusception. And the surgeon says, we are going to operate him tomorrow morning. The parents knew German New Medicine and asked me, what can be done? I said, if the surgeon helps me to talk to the child and allows me, I will do that. And I went there, and the child exactly told that it was first time my mother got wild on me and angry on me. And after that, I started having this intestinal pain, the abdominal pain. I told the parents to go and caress her, to explain her, to give a logical answer, and also explain the child why she is suffering. And you know what happened? In the morning, the surgeon refused to operate because the child had past stools. Another thing which you can take home is a renal failure, acute renal failure child came to me, and I was not able to ask him what was the existent abandoned refugee conflict in him. And what will I ask a child of 6 years? Why does he feel abandoned? And then it clicked me that it was the mother's history, which is very important. I asked the mother, and what did the mother say? She said, my husband had left me all my 9 months of pregnancy. And my parents also did not support me. And my mother-in-law used to say, if you give a birth to a child, which is a female, you are not allowed in this house. Everybody abandoned her, and she had to go through the delivery on her own. And believe me, the child used to go and cling to the mother all the time. And he then started suffering with kidney problems. And when I understood that story, that helped me understand, counsel the mother, and select the right things to do for the child and what approach I should have in homeopathy. And that changed the complete life. Within 3-4 days, the child's protein levels fell down and the swelling and the edema had gone. He was off the steroids by the conventional doctor. And this is what German medicine has taught me and is helping me to cure or help people who are really suffering and they don't know where to go. Even after taking conventional medicine, allopathic medicine, they have a place where they know that they are going to get out of these things. So with all that, this is the what you can take home. So mother's history, very important, and convincing the conventional doctors, surgeons about what it can do. Just a counseling is what I can share it with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asher. It's such important information. And yes, we want to share this with everyone, even physicians. And I'm so glad you're having many of them coming to you for knowledge and the wisdom that we can all share. So thank you for that. It's important that we continue this work. And this brings us towards the end of our presentation today, and we've got a couple of minutes. Are there any questions that have come in? I don't have any, but does anyone have any questions? I just think this has been an absolutely amazing amount of knowledge and wisdom that has been shared tonight. So if there are no questions, I will just go to my closing remarks here. Dr. Varghese, do you see any questions or?
It was really an amazing experience, Andy, and all my beloved speakers, all the listeners, because it's historical. It was first in the history of world, I say like that, and first in the history of GSK, and of course, first in the history of global GSK. So I should appreciate all of you who took real effort to make it beautiful. My first gratitude goes to you, Andy, because you did it wonderfully well. I don't have words to express how I'm feeling grateful to you, how you organized, how meticulously, wonderfully did it. And all the speakers, once again, I'm thanking you and all those who listened to our program. And of course, it will remain online and it is open to the history. It is open to generations. And I hope it will do wonderfully well for the future generations. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And so as we come to the close of this 9th anniversary celebration, I want to thank each of our wonderful speakers for sharing not just theories or techniques, but really lived experience. What you've heard tonight is not a single story. It's a pattern. It's a pattern of people learning to meet life with less fear and more understanding, with less reaction and more awareness, with less judgment even, and more biological clarity. GHK does not promise a life without conflict. It offers something far more valuable, I think. It's the ability to recognize what is happening, to stay oriented, and to respond consciously, whether in our bodies, in our relationships, our decisions, or the wider world. It gives us more agency in our life. As we've heard from so many of our speakers, we are not victims, not like we have thought we have been. If there's one thing I ask for everyone to take from you from this presentation, it's this. GHK is not something you apply only when something is wrong. It's a way of understanding life when it's happening. As this community continues to grow, and hopefully it will continue to grow and grow and grow, so does our responsibility, not to convince or to convert, but to embody this work with humility, with clarity, and with respect for biology. We, of course, thank Dr. Hammer for the amazing contributions that he gave us that have changed worldwide, like humankind, and will continue to change as we continue to share, especially with organizations such as this Global GHK. Thank you all so much for being part of this global conversation. And thank you for living this work in your own lives. And thank you for celebrating 9 years of Global GHK with us. Good night, good day. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and take the wisdom that's been shared here. Listen to this over and over. There are so many nuggets of wisdom here that we ought to go through and just pull them all out and do a sheet and hand it out to everyone. Here's the wisdom we can share just from our stories, from living Gamana Shahal Kunde. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much for being here. Does anyone have anything else they want to share? This truly has been wonderful.
May I express something?
Yes.
Oh, it was such a wonderful, unbelievable experience, because till this day of my experience in GNM, I have been always thinking about conflict, SBS, conflict shock, resolution, healing, etc. First time I have realized that we can live our life as a GHK person. Yes, a wonderful experience. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Wonderful. And that's really why we did the way we did. This is so different. We're not just doing case studies. This is about how do we use the bigger picture of Gamana Shahal Kunde, the bigger wisdom of it in our daily life to be the person that we want to be. Especially when we know ourselves, we understand ourselves, then we know we can choose a different path forward. So thank you, Ayush, for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Love to hear from Ajoy.
It was just yet another blockbuster evening, I would say. Multi-star cast blockbuster. All the who's who of GHK is here. And I'm like overwhelmed. And it's good to be back. Thank you, everybody. And see you all soon again.
Yes. Yes, thank